Hey everyone, how's it going today? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Block Theater. And yesterday we got news. We got big news that Kevin Feige was going to be working on a Star Wars movie. No other information. Nothing. Not a damn thing, right? So everyone kind of runs to their keyboards or runs to their camera. I literally pulled my car over in the side of the road and I was all like, I got to talk about this because it was that big of information. But then I started thinking about it and I figured it out. And it's not what you think. Not at all. Let me explain why. Here's the truth about why Kevin Feige is making a Star Wars movie. And again, there's probably a couple layers to this, but the key one, the most prominent one, is that it's an FU to Sony. And here's why. So today, after this news broke about Kevin Feige making a Star Wars movie, Sony came out and said, oh, hey guys, we're doing a Madam Web film. And the writers of Morbius are going to be working on it. Now, for one, like no one has asked for that. Not to say it's a bad idea, but just like no one has come out and been like, you know what, I really want to see a Madam Web movie. Okay, sure. I mean, not against it. I'll watch it. I'll pretty much watch anything that has Spider-Man's name somewhat in orbit around it. I'm that kind of fanboy. But it got me thinking. And it confirmed a thought I had last night where I'm like, what if Kevin Feige was just doing this as an FU to Sony? Here's why. Go back a month when Sony killed the Spider-Man deal, and Sony killed the Spider-Man deal. I'm tired of having this argument in the comment section. Sony kept Marvel in the dark for literally 6 months. Right after they won Best Animated Feature at the Oscars, and after Far From Home came out and did $1 billion, they kept Disney in the dark. Disney had the Spider-Man merchandising rights all the way back in 2011. It was a vertical trade between Disney and Sony. And again, I've talked about that, showing you the exact transcript that Bob Iger gave in an earnings call in 2011 to talk about this. They traded Sony for the merchandising rights. So when people say, but why does Disney have the merchandising rights? Because they traded Sony for it 8 years ago. Enough said on that one. It's out there. You can find it. If not, I got tons of videos where I bring it up. I forget the exact one. Right? I think, anyway, the point with it is Sony screwed the deal because Sony wants to take the direction. They want to take these movies in their own direction. And here's the thing. They have every right to do that. Okay. I want to make that abundantly clear. Apple or Amazon is going to come in and buy Sony in the next couple of years. I don't even think that's a question anymore. It's probably leaning more towards Apple, meaning that when that deal goes through, the rights to Spider-Man go back home to Marvel. It's a non-transferable right if the company gets sold. So we have that to deal with. So right now, Sony realizes what's on the horizon. So they tanked the deal in order to make as much money as they could off the Spider-Man brand and whatever good faith that the Marvel Cinematic Universe fanboys would have towards those movies based upon Spider-Man's inclusion in the MCU. That's all it is. It's business 101. Fine, I get it. But the kicker here is the statement that Sony made. Their FU statement to everybody. In no way was it real. When they went on Twitter and they said in a three tweet little thread, oh, well, Kevin Feige, Disney won't let Kevin Feige play with us. Disney has him stretched too thin, so he can't come out and play with us anymore. He can't produce this movie because he's too busy working on Phase 4, the Fox acquisition characters, and all the Disney Plus shows. Too busy. He can't do it. That's what they said. That is the only public statement that they have made about this. That is what they said. And Feige at D23 a week later was like, hey man, look, it was fun to work with them. We made 5 movies. It was fantastic. It was a dream come true. Ever the consummate professional, because that's how he's going to play the game. But he knows what's up. Feige knows how the rights break down. Why do you think he went to Sony in the first place to negotiate with them? Like, he sees the writing on the wall. The dude gets it. Sony is screwed financially. They have been for years. I mean, there was that $962 million write-down in 2016 because they up so bad working on these movies. So Kevin just tossed them a lifeline and they crapped on it. And then they had the audacity to come out and say, oh, no, this Feige, Disney won't let Feige play with us because he's got too much on his plate. He can't make it work. So what does Disney do? They drop the ball, or they drop the info that Feige is working on a Star Wars movie. Oh, the constant $1 billion producer is now going to go work on Star Wars. Fuck you, Sony, right? That's basically what it boils down to. Now, do I think that it's the right call for Kevin Feige, who is a self-admitted Star Wars fan, who Empire Strikes Back is his favorite movie, to go on in and work on a Star Wars movie, to take that away from Kathleen Kennedy while she focuses on the business and he focuses on the creative? Oh, 100%, dude. Nips are still hard from last night as a result of that. It was I couldn't sleep in my stomach, is all I'm trying to say. No, I'm fine with that. There's dual meanings to all of this, though. But make no mistake that this was an FU to Sony, because there's no other reason to drop that information now, with the exception to one thing, and that is simply just Disney has had a bad week PR-wise. Bob Iger's memoir that came out that had the snippets about how he treated George Lucas, Star Wars fans were furious at Disney, calling it a betrayal. I called it a betrayal. A lot of people called it a betrayal. They know they had Triple Force Friday that came out today, showcasing all the new toys that are going to be coming out next week, leading into The Mandalorian, Rise of Skywalker, and Jedi Fallen Order. They are definitely wanting this to be a good time to be a Star Wars fan. But that news that hurt them. Never mind, Galaxy's Edge is hurting. Galaxy's Edge is fledgling, and they've had so many major shakeups at Disney theme parks this week, with people that are being let go and people that are being moved around. It is a massive shakeup, and so they needed some good news. So they dropped this news. This news, it serves multiple purposes, but the biggest one is an FU to Sony. Because they know eventually they're going to get the rights to Spider-Man back. And I said this before. I said this when the whole thing went down, that Feige knows how to undercut DC, and he likes to undercut DC. And now he's going to undercut Sony, and he's going to make them look stupid, and he's going to make them come crawling back. He's going to make them do all of these things because he's got the power to do it. Feige is, without a doubt, the most powerful person in Hollywood. If you smite him, he will destroy you. They need him to save Star Wars because he can craft the timeline, the phases. He can craft the story and get the right people, and he's really good at that. Kathleen Kennedy's good at the business side. Feige's a creative producer. That's going to be a good team up. But this is also a way to go look at Sony and go, you see what you picked up on? You see what you picked up on, you mother? You see that? Because that's exactly what's happening. That is precisely, predominantly, absolutely what is happening. Sony they so screwed themselves by dropping that deal. And so this is where we are. Now, I'll be fair. I'll be honest with you guys. From a fanboy perspective, I'm happy. This is some good news. Not only do we get The Mandalorian in a couple weeks, we get Jedi Fallen Order on the same exact day, which is great. A Star Wars game and a new Star Wars show on the same day. I'm hyped. And then a month later, we get a new movie. Hell yeah, it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan. But I still understand that the franchise has its problems about where to go in the future. And so now they brought in the one guy who's been proven in Hollywood to get a successful cinematic franchise off the ground. And they're going to sit there and work with him to build up more billion-dollar franchises with billion-dollar spinoffs and billion-dollar ideas, while Sony is going to try to capitalize on it. And because this is Sony, and we know how bad they are at running franchises, and we know how bad they are at doing business, and we know how bad they are at running everything outside of their video game department, which, by the way, is great. There's Sony Pictures is a crap hole that does well on like independent films or like lower budgeted movies. I will give them credit there. But when it comes to big tentpole franchises, the biggest one that they have is Spider-Man. So, hey, listen, Sony, you may have gotten Spider-Man back. You may have tanked the deal of a lifetime that meant almost untold millions brought to you for very little effort. You might make a little less on the front end, right? You might make a little less, right? But as time goes on, you're going to start seeing these movies are going to have a lot more value, and they're going to make a lot more money. And then every one you put out is going to be $1 billion movie because it's tied into the MCU, and you would have made bank, but you had to share it. So you're like, nah, I don't want to share it. But no, you're going to go off and you're going to run into the ground, Madam Web. Feige got you. And your only response back to that was Madam Web. It was a weak response. Still kind of curious to see how it turns out. Again, I'm not going to lie. I'm a Spider-Man fanboy. I'm going to check it out. But this is where things are. This is where things are. This is where they are. And I know you guys know that I'm right on this, because there's no other explanation for it. Like I said, it's a two-prong approach. It's an F you to Sony, and it's a let's save Star Wars. That's what it boils down to at this point. That's exactly what it boils down to. And I'm very curious to see where things go with it. I'm very curious to see what happens with it. And I'm very curious to see if somehow magically Sony comes back to the table, because I think that they will. If they were hoping that Kevin Feige was going to hold out and like come back to them like John Cusack and say anything, right? If he was going to be holding up that boombox outside of Sony Pictures in Culver City, and he's like, no, I'm on the Star Wars now. I'm on the Star Wars now. Yeah, you guys screwed yourself so bad with that one. And they're going to let you know about it. And like I said, Feige, most powerful man in Hollywood. He is, I don't want to say vindictive because I don't know him, but he's smart and he knows how to get revenge in very creative ways. And that's exactly what he's doing here. I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that this wasn't what was brought to him, but this was him going to Kathleen Kennedy and saying like, what do you got for me, Kathy? What do you want me to do? I'm all yours. You have my full and complete attention. And then Kathy's like, I'm not going to be out of a job, because that's where we are. That's exactly where we are. But I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your opinions on this one. Let me know down in the comments below. Again, those of you out there going to be defending Sony, no, I've already proven they've already been the ones that broke the deal. So there's no point. But if you guys are here to have an honest conversation about where you think things are, that's what I want to see. So write that down in the comments below. I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day and peace out.